This is the last class, last revision class for the computer networks. So today we are going to discuss about the transport layer. In the earlier classes, we have covered the first unit, introduction to the computer, uses of computer network, and next what are various types of networks, LAN, MAN, WAN, and two different reference models, that is OSI and TCP/IP. And then we have covered internet too, that is the end of our first unit. After that we have covered the details about data link layer, design issues of data link layer. In that we have discussed the framing techniques, and then we have discussed about error correction and detection techniques. After that we have come across MAC protocols, and then carrier sense multiple access, and then wireless LAN. After that we have covered a network layer, the design issues of network layer, and then routing algorithms. After that, we have discussed about the congestion control protocols. What are the congestion control principles? Next, what are the ways to solve the congestion in the subnet as well as a virtual circuit? So we have covered all those details. So after that, we need to talk about the transport layer and the application layer. So if we complete these two things, we can you people definitely attempt all the questions in the question paper for sure, right? So let me explain you about the transport layer, right? So I already told you, whenever you talk about a particular layer, you need to remember that each and every layer provides services to the above layer. The below layer has to provide services to the above layer. For example, network layer is a third layer, transport layer is a fourth layer. So the network layer has to provide services to the transport layer. In the similar way, the transport layer has to provide services to the above layer, right? So what are the services of the transport layer? The transport layer has to provide the reliable service to the users in the application layer. So above the transport layer, there are presentation and session layer. We are not talking much about those two layers. So directly, that when we talk about the transport layer, the next layer we discuss usually is the application layer. So the services provided by the transport layer will be received by the application layer. Okay. So the first one is a reliable service, and next the transport layer, you need to follow the cursor, right? Please follow the cursor. It provides the reliable service and it is a cost effective service to the users. And then transport layer make use of the services provided by the network layer. That means as the network layer is a third layer, it provides services to the transport layer. In turn, the transport layer will provide the services to the application layer, and those services are reliable services. And then there is an entity called as a transport entity. So whatever the services provided by the transport layer, it will be because of transport entity. Okay. And then the next point is, there are two types of services provided by the transport layer. One is a connection oriented transport service, and the second one is a connectionless transport service. Usually we call it as connection oriented service and the connectionless service. Okay. So what is the transport service primitives? The transport service primitives allow the users to access the transport service, and whatever the services provided the transport layer, okay, will be accessible to the users with the help of service primitives. What are the service primitives? There are total 5 service primitives: listen, connect, send, receive, and disconnect. So these are the 5 service primitives. I will explain you in detail. What is listen? So for example, if it is a client server communication, server will listen for the incoming request. For example, if I am a Gmail account holder, as a customer, as a client, what I will do? I will send a request to the Gmail server. Okay, whenever I send a request to the Gmail server, so Gmail server will take the request from the user, from me, and then it process the request and send back the Gmail inbox. If I enter the correct username and password, the Gmail server will send reply to the send reply to me. What it will send? Inbox, Gmail inbox page will be open, right?
క్లాస్ ఉంది పక్కన కూర్చొని పాటలు పాడతావే మరి ఇదిగో పాటలు
Right. That means the server will wait for the or block for the incoming request. So whenever the request sent by the server, immediately there is a connection establishment between the client and the sender server. And then they can, once the connection is established, we can send the messages and we can receive the messages, right? So once the data transfer is over, that means sending and receiving is over, that means the communication is over, we can disconnect the connection. Okay, so these are the 5 primitives. Okay, first one is a listen. That means the server will block for the incoming request or client request. Once the request is sent to the server, then server will accept the request sent by the client. That means both are willing to communicate with each other. So connection will be established if both are agreed with that. Synchronize both, if they, both the client and server are synchronized, then there will be a connection establishment between the client and server. Once the connection is established, they can send and receive the messages. Once the data transfer is over, and then disconnect is used to remove the connection or release the connection. You should not use the word remove. Disconnect is used for release the connection. Okay, so in order to establish the connection between the sender and the receiver, we have to use these primitives, service primitives. 5: listen, connect, send, receive, and disconnect. So, and then what are the elements of transfer protocol? Okay, so first of all these transport services, I already told you the transport layer provide reliable service, and it provides cost effective service to the user, and it provides connection oriented service, it provides connectionless service. Like that, the transport layer provides you so many services. All those services are implemented by the transport protocol. Okay, transport protocol. So protocol is an agreement between the communication parties, or protocol is also called a set of rules. Okay, between the communication parties. For example, if there are two transport entities in different machines, these two transport machines can communicate using the transport protocol. That means there should be some agreement between the transport entities, right? And then what are the main elements of transport protocol? The first one is addressing. As you know, so addressing is used to identify the destination or a sender. Who is the sender and who is the receiver of that particular message? So that will be indicated by the addressing. And then establishing a connection. So there should be some connection establishment between the sender and the receiver, or source and destination machine. Then only the communication is possible. So once the connection establishment is done, then the source and destination can communicate with each other. Once the communication is over, so then the connection will be released. Okay, and then flow control, buffering. What is flow control? Flow control means fast sender, slow receiver. So if you are not controlling the flow of messages at the sender side, that means sender is continuously sending the message and the receiver is unable to receive the message. That means senders, whatever the sender send the messages, that may not be received by the receiver. Even the sender continues in the same flow, what will happen? Some of the packets are dropped at the receiver end. Why? Because receiver is unable to receive the information. So at that time, what you need to do? We need to control the flow at the sender side. So whenever there is a problem at the receiver end and the receiver is unable to receive the information, so the sender has to regulate the flow. That means we need to regulate the flow at the sender. We need to reduce the speed of sending the messages at the sender side. Okay, and then at the receiver end, we need to maintain a buffer. Buffer is a temporary storage area. So whatever the sender uh, um, send a message, whatever it may be, that message will be received by the receiver. Okay, in sometimes the receiver may not receive the information immediately whenever the sender is sending the information. So at that time, the receiver end, we need to keep a buffer, so that whatever the message the sender sent, it will be reached to the buffer first, so that after that, whenever the receiver is free, the receiver can take the information from the buffer. Okay, so that is different size of buffer. We already had a discussion when you talk about interprocess communication mechanisms in the operating system, right? So where zero capacity buffer, bounded capacity, unbounded capacity. There are different types of buffers. Zero capacity means whatever the sender sends the information, the receiver immediately need to receive the information. Why? Because the buffer capacity is zero. Bounded capacity means some number 10. That means a buffer can hold 10 messages. Unbounded capacity means infinite. Okay. So in order to control the flow, we need to regulate the speed at the sender. Okay. And next we need to keep the buffers at the receiver. Or else there are two types of flow control mechanisms. Very important. We need to discuss when you talk about a data link layer. There also flow control is there, and then here also flow control. I failed to tell you at that time in detail, but here I would like to inform you. So there are two types of flow control mechanisms. One is a feedback based and the second one is a rate based. Very important thing. Right? What are the two types of flow control mechanisms? There is a problem with the socket. Let me check. Okay. So there are different types of flow control mechanisms. What are those? There are two types of flow control mechanisms. One is a feedback based. Feedback. One second. Sorry. So there are two types of flow control mechanisms. One is a feedback based and the second one is rate based. What is feedback based and what is rate based? Feedback based means, sorry, feedback. Feedback based means sender send information to the receiver and the receiver has to send back the acknowledgement. Whenever the sender get the acknowledgement, upon receiving the acknowledgement, sender will send the next message. Again, the receiver has to send the acknowledgement. After getting the acknowledgement, again the sender is allowed to send the message. Like that, the sender has to wait for the acknowledgement. Once the acknowledgement received, then the sender is able to send the next message. So that is called as feedback. That means the receiver has to send a feedback acknowledgement to the sender. So once the sender receives the acknowledgement, then the sender thinks that okay, whatever the message sent by me is reached to the destination. Okay, so I got the acknowledgement, so I can send the next message. Like that, based upon the feedback of the receiver, the sender continue sending the messages, right? That is called as feedback based. So what is rate based? Rate based means usually sender will send the message to the receiver. Okay, after that sender will send in the increasing order. That means sender will send two messages later. After that sender will send the four messages. After that sender will send the eight messages. Like that, the sender send the messages in an exponential increasing manner exponential increasing manner. Okay. Likewise, the sender will continue sending the message. After some time, the sender voluntarily want to reduce the speed. Okay. Why? Because he is increasing the rate of transmission, right? So at particular moment of time, the sender itself think that I need to reduce the speed of the flow. Okay, not the base, not the speed regulation is not done based upon the feedback of the receiver. The sender himself feels that I need to reduce the speed. Okay, sender voluntarily reduce the speed. Here speed means, here the speed means transfer rate. Okay, he will reduce the transfer rate, not based upon the feedback from the receiver. So this particular question is very, very important. in gate as well as in the interview in your final examination also. So there are two types of techniques. Usually this particular concept, what is flow control means, usually fast sender and the slow receiver, that information only we will read usually, but you need to read out what are the techniques for flow control. One is a feedback based and the second one is a rate based. Okay, it is about flow control. At the receiver end we need to keep the buffers. Okay, that way also we can control the flow, so that the sender, whatever the sender send the information, it will be reached to the receiver buffer. Whenever the receiver is free, at that time the receiver can collect the messages from the buffer. Okay, and the fifth one is a multiplexing. What is multiplexing? Multiplex means several conversations onto connections. So there are two types of things. One is upward multiplexing and the second one is a downward multiplexing. So upward multiplex means different upward. What is that? Up layer, transport layer. What is the below layer? Network layer. So based on that, you can easily identify which one is upward multiplexing and which one is a downward multiplexing. So upward multiplexing means four transport connections use the same network connection. That means there is only one network connection to the four transport connections. So that is called as upward multiplexing, 1 to 4. Okay, whereas downward multiplexing means there is only one transport layer open to multiple network connections. That means there are multiple network connections, only one transport layer. That is called as downward multiplexing. And the next one is crash recovery. What is crash recovery? Crash recovery is for whenever the system is having any trouble, even after the crash also the system, we need to able to work with the machine. That is called as crash recovery. So even after connection failure also, so we can re-establish the connection and we can smoothly transfer the information from source machine to destination machine. That means we are able to work even after the crash. So that is called as crash recovery. It may be related to any of the subject. So what is crash recovery? So we can able to work with the system even after the crash. So that is called as crash recovery. So what are the techniques? Addressing, establishing a connection, releasing connection, flow control and buffering, multiplexing, crash recovery. So all these are the services provided by the transport layer, or we can say it as elements of transport layer. Okay. So as I told you earlier, one second, ma'am, someone called me. There are two types of, sorry, there is an emergency call, right? Someone came for me. Okay, there are two types of protocols. One is a connection oriented protocol and second one is a connectionless protocol. I already told you protocol is used to implement the service. What for protocol? Protocol is for implement the service. So what are the two main services of a transport layer? Connection oriented service and the connectionless service. Okay, connection oriented service will be implemented by TCP, transmission control protocol. Whereas connectionless service is implemented by another protocol called UDP. UDP means user datagram protocol. Okay, what is connection oriented protocol? TCP, transmission control protocol. What is connectionless protocol? UDP. UDP means user datagram protocol. Okay, So next here we need to talk about the three-way handshake also. So this is also an important concept in the transport layer. What is three-way handshake? So three-way handshake means, for example, this is a sender and it is the receiver. It may be a client and it may be the server. Okay. So whenever the client want to establish a connection for the data transfer, so what are the three things we need to do? We need to establish the connection. What you need to do? We need to establish connection, right? And then what you have to do? Data transfer. What is the third one? Connection release, right? So the first one is the establishing connection. Once the connection is established between the client and server, then we can able to transfer the data. After that, connection release. Okay, in order to establish the connection between the client and server, we need to use SYN. SYN means synchronization short form, SYN. SYN is for connection request. Okay, whenever the client sends a SYN, automatically if the server is also willing to communicate with the client, so what he will do? SYN plus acknowledgement. So once the connection establishment is done, so automatically what the client will do? Both can send and receive the information. Both can send and receive the information. Once this is called as data transfer. This is called as data transfer, right? Establish connection. For establishing connection, we need to use the SYN. Once the data transfer is over, so what we need to do? We need to release the connection. In order to release the connection, so what the sender has to do? Our client has to do? Client has to send a request called FIN. FIN. Okay. Again, sender will send back the FIN plus acknowledgement. That means FIN is used to disconnect the connection, whereas SYN is used for establishing the connection. For establishing, we have to use SYN. For disconnection, we have to use FIN. Likewise, the sender and the receiver, or client and server, need to communicate with each other. So there are three steps. Establish the connection, after the data transfer, after that connection release. So this is called as three-way handshake. Okay. So these are the three things the communication parties has to do. They need to establish the connection first and then data transfer, and then they need to release the connection after use. That is called as three-way handshake. Okay. And next, I already told you the connection oriented service is implemented by the protocol TCP, Transmission Control Protocol. So what is the format of TCP? Okay, this is the TCP header format. So what is the size? 32 bits. Okay, and next, source port, destination port. So what is port here? Port is nothing but address of a process. Port is nothing but address of a process, right? For example, this is a one machine, sender machine, and this is receiver machine. Okay, so each and every machine has an address that is called as a physical address, or we can call it as a MAC address. Okay, MAC address is a unique address to identify machine, right? Like that. So the sender machine is in one network and the receiver machine is in another network, for example. So whenever sender want to send a message to the receiver, so we need to identify the network first. in which network the receiver is available. So for that, we require IP address. Okay, IP address is used to know the network where the receiver is available. So once the network we know, so we need to go to the particular machine. How can we know the particular machine address? So that it will be the MAC address. MAC address is used to identify the machine. In this machine, there is a process. There is a process. So what is the how can we identify the process? With the help of a port number. Port number is used to identify the process. Okay, in the sender machine, from this process we want to communicate to the this process. So this process has a port number. Again, this one is a port number. So this is a sender port and this is the receiver port. So port is for identify the process. Okay, and next to each and every machine has a MAC address. This is also called as permanent address. Okay, it won't change. MAC address won't change. For example, if you remove the machine from this network and if you want to attach this network into the network 3, at that time the IP address will change. At that time the IP address change. Why? Because the network is now 3. This is the second network and this is the first network. Okay, the network is identified using the IP address. But whenever you remove or unplug this particular machine from this network and you attach that particular machine to this network, so at that time the MAC address is same. There will be no change in the MAC address. What will change? IP address will change. Okay, because the network is changed, right? That is the thing. That is called as a port number. Okay, source port is used to identify the process, and then in the sender machine, and the destination port is identify the process at the receiver machine. And then sequence number is used to avoid the duplicates. Acknowledgement number. So acknowledgement number means, so acknowledgement number indicates the successful transmission of a message. After that, the header length. What is the header length of the TCP? URG means urgent pointer. So whether that particular message is a normal message or the urgent, important one. After that, so these are the flags. You need to set the flags. ACK. If you require acknowledgement number, you need to set the flag ACK. SYN is for connection establishment. FIN is for connection release. RST means for reset the connection. PSH means for push messages. Checksum is for error correction. Okay. And then urgent pointer means if you set the flag, automatically it will be indicated that it is an urgent message. And next here the options. If there is any future flags you want to add, you can add it here. Future services other than this FIN, SYN, reset, push, you want to add any additional features in near future. So for that purpose, you can use the options. And then data. Data means actual payload information. Okay, this is about TCP header. And then UDP. So UDP is for connectionless service. Okay, that means the second point, UDP sends the data without having to establish a connection. That means there is no need to uh, have a connection in between the sender and the receiver. Okay, what is the length of it is UDP header? It is also here 32-bit. Next, the it is also having a source port and the destination port. And then UDP length means length of the UDP, user datagram protocol. UDP checksum for error correction. So this is about UDP. UDP is for connectionless service, user datagram protocol. Okay. And then application layer. So in the application layer, you need to mainly we have two concepts. One is a DNS and the second one is a email. So what is DNS? So DNS is used to map the names to the IP address. So what is mapping? Very important question. So please try to understand carefully. Right? I will explain you entire DNS here. After that, we'll go to the PPT. It will be easy for you. Right? What is DNS? DNS means domain name system. So what it will do? So what it will do is, for example, is it easy for you to remember like this www.google.com, or is it easy for you to remember like 168.191.1.1? So obviously it is easy for us to remember the domain name. So this is the name of the domain. So what is this one? This is the IP address. Okay. So which one is easy for us? In your contact list also, so there is a contact. So for Ravi, there is a contact for Ravi. So it is very easy for us to remember the name of the contact rather than the number. For example, if you want, this is the number, right? So this is difficult for us to remember the entire 10-digit number when compared to the name. So obviously it is easy to remember the name when compared to the number. So like the way, so it is very easy for us to know the name, to remember the name of the domain when compared to the IP address. So what you need to do? So what we need to do is you need to type www.google.com. Okay, but this one is not known to the network. It was not known to the machine, right? So automatically it has to be converted to IP address. Okay, so this mapping will be done. The domain names will be mapped to the IP address with the help of domain name system. I repeat, the domain name system is used to domain names map the domain names to IP addresses. Okay. So how can it happen? How can it will happen? How can means initially these domain names are maintained by the all the domain names will be maintained by the server called as domain name server. There is a server called DNS, domain name server. Okay. So whenever you want to convert this domain name to the IP address, exactly what happened, right? Initially, the domain name will be sent as an UDP packet to the local data server, DNS server, local DNS server. Okay. And then resolver. So all these things help us to map the domain name to the IP address. So read the lines one by one. So to map a name into the IP address, so what the application program will do, it will use a procedure called as resolver. What the resolver will do? The resolver will send a packet to the local DNS server. That means, for example, www.gmail.com or www.google.com. For that, you require the IP address. So what it will do? Your local machine client, the resolver will send a procedure in your client machine that is called as a resolver. That resolver will send the request to the local DNS server. I want the IP address of www.google.com or www.gmail.com. So immediately upon receiving the request from the resolver, the DNS server, follow the cursor, the local DNS server looks up the name. It will check the name in the domain name database. The local DNS server maintains a domain name database. In the name database, where this particular name is available. If the particular name is available at that place, automatically it will be mapped to the IP address. That means the DNS server maintains the list of domain names, uh, with along with the IP addresses. So whenever you send your request for IP address of www.gmail.com, the domain name server will check the database and it will return back the IP address. So that is the thing. Okay. And then what is domain namespace? So as I told you, the entire internet is divided into several hundred of domains. Each and every domain has a name. Every host has a domain, right? All these domains are represented like a tree from top to bottom. Okay, each domain is named by a path. So for example, www.google.com. What is the last one? .com. In the above parent is Google. The further the above parent is www. Like that. So it will be denoted like a tree manner. So what are the resource records? Each and every domain has a set of records called as resource records. So what it consists of? The resource records contains the information about the domain. I repeat, each and every resource record is having the information about the domain name. Okay. So what it contains? The resource record contains totally 5 types of information. So what is the domain name? Next to time to live, that means what is the how stable the record is. Okay. And then what is the class? That class means this particular domain belongs to which domain. For example, .com is for commercial, .in internet, and next .edu education, .org organizational. Okay. Are you got it? .in means internet, .com commercial, okay, .org for organizational one, .edu educational, right? Like that, there are different types of class. The domain belongs to which one? Okay. And then type means type of the record. Value means it is a number. It is based upon the it is based upon the type of the record. So value is a number which is based upon the type of record. So a resource record consists of all these things: domain name, time to live, class, type, value. Okay. So this is about resource record. And then name server. I already told you the name server will maintain a DNS database. It responds to all the queries about it. About it means DNS. For example, if you are giving a domain name, the domain name server will take the request from you. It will take the domain name from you and it will give you the IP address. It will process the request and it will give you the IP address of that particular domain. For example, www.google.com, www.gmail.com, yahoo.com. What is the IP address of these domain names? So the resolver is a library routine. Okay. It will send a request to the local domain server, DNS server. The DNS server will maintain a database in that all the domain names along with the IP address are available. So the domain name server will search for the requested domain name and it will give you back the IP address. So this is the compute, right? So follow the cursor, please. Follow the cursor. For example, initially this is your computer. In that the resolver, what you want to know? You want to know the address of mail1.condio.com. So this one you want to know. What is the IP address of this one? Immediately the resolver will query the DNS server, local DNS server. Okay. It first checks in the cache. If it is there in the DNS server, immediately it send back the IP address. If it is there in the local domain server, it will send back the result to the computer. So, but for example, if it is not there in the local DNS server, what it will do? Are you got my point? So, whenever you are sending mail1.contidio.com to the local domain server, it will check in the local database. If it is in the local database cache, if it is there, immediately it will respond with the IP address. If it is not known to the local DNS server, then what the local DNS server will uh, um, do? It will send the query. It will send the query. What is the query? This one, mail1.condio.com. The same query it will send to the root domain server. What it will having? It doesn't know about the enter IP address, but it know about the .com server, last one. I don't know about the entire domain name, but I have the details about .com server. You go and ask the .com server. This is the IP address of .com server. Like that, it will send the ask.com. It is not known to me. you need to ask the .com. So it will give the .com server address. So the what the local domain server will do? Local domain server will take the .com address from the root server, and it will ask the same query. Again, it asks the same query. mail1.contio.com IP address is what? It asks the .com. Then .com will inform to the local domain server that I don't know about the entire IP address, but I know about the uh, Contoso, sorry, Contoso, I think it is. So address of this one. So you ask that particular one. So immediately the local server will send the details to the conso.com. So finally, it will give you the IP address. So from that IP address will be sent back to the user. Are you got my point? So I will give you one more example. That IP address is little bit difficult to pronounce and difficult to understand too in the diagram, right? So for example, initially this is your user machine, right? So what the user willing to work with www.google.com. Okay, this particular request, this is the request. This particular request is sent to the local DNS, domain name server. Okay, so if this particular domain name IP address is not known to the, if it is known, for example 168.122.1.1, if it is known, then what if it is known to the domain name server, local domain name server, it will immediately respond to the user request. If it is not known, if it is not known, the IP address is not known to the local domain name server. So what it will do? It will send the request to the whom? It will send the request to the root server. Then what the root server will do? Root server will send the address of .com. I don't know about the entire address, but I know the address of IP address of .com. IP address of .com. So what the local server will do? Local server based upon this IP address, local server will send the request to the .com server. Then what the .com server will do? I don't know about the entire address, but I know about the Google server address. So what he will respond? He will respond to the Google server IP address. He will send the IP address of Google server. So what the local domain server will do? So based upon the IP address of Google server, he will contact the Google server. So what the Google server will do? It will send the IP address of request. What is our request? The request is www.google.com. So once the IP address is known to the local domain name server, at that time it will send back the result to the user. Okay. If the user asks any IP address of a domain, it is known to the local DNS, immediately it responds to the user. Up to this particular portion, it is called as recursive. Recursive means whenever you ask something to the local domain server, immediately the domain name will be mapped to the IP address with the help of a local DNS server. That means the local DNS server immediately give a response to the user. He will give you the IP address of that particular domain name. So if it is not known, and the domain name server does not know about the IP address of a given domain name, requested domain name, automatically n-type this procedure will be happen. So this is called as iterative. Okay, iterative means first the local domain name server, follow the cursor. First the local domain name server will ask the request to the root server. The root server will send the .com address. So the .com address, we know now the .com IP address is known to the local domain name server. So it sends a request to the .com server. .com server will give the address IP address of Google server. So the local domain name server contact the Google server. So we get the IP address. So finally the IP address is now known to the local DNS. It will be sent to the user. So this is the iterative process. If that particular domain name IP address is known to the local DNS, So we no need to go further, right? So this particular part is called as recursive. And the last concept, that is called as email. So what is email? So electronic mail. Electronic mail, under the electronic mail, you have two types of agents. What are those? One is a user agent and the second one is a message transfer agent. So what is the purpose of user agent? User agent allows the people to read the mail, to send the mail. What is the purpose of message transfer agent? It moves the message from source to destination. So there are two things here. One is a user agent and the second one is a message transfer agent. So message transfer agent is for transferring a message from source to destination. So whereas what is the purpose of user agent? The user agent will do the basic functions. We can compose a mail with the help of user agent, and next we can transfer, we can send the reports, we can display the mails, and we can disposition, right? So user agent. A user agent is a program that accepts a variety of commands. Which commands? User agent is used to compose a mail. We can receive the mails. We can reply to the mails. And next we can manipulate the mailbox. That means we can create our own mailboxes. Okay, we can remove the mailboxes. So like that we can manipulate the mailboxes. So user agent is a main key role here. The user agent is responsible for send a mail. It is the responsible for compose a mail, receive the mail, and then reply to the mail or forward the mail, whatever the things you are doing with your email. So all the things will be happen because of user agent. And then sending email means you can send an email. So in order to send an email, what you require, you require the sender address. So I want to send a mail to you. So you need to know where you are getting the mail. So we require both the sender address and the receiver address. Okay, and reading a mail. So whenever the user end is started up, it looks for a user mailbox. So where you will get all the incoming mails? All the incoming mails are available in the inbox. Okay, that is the thing. So in the inbox we have a number, how many new messages are arrived to our inbox. So in the Gmail top, in the mobile also, on the screen you might observe that number. So these many number of new mails came to your inbox, right? And next summary, one line summary is also there. So what for that particular mail, that is called as subject, right? So this is a message format. So what the header of that particular email consists of? To whom you are going to deliver the mail, and then CC, secondary recipient, BCC. So if you want to send the mail to multiple members, then you have to use BCC. Okay, from and sender. That means to tell who wrote and who sent the messages. Received means it contains the agent's identity. Received means at what time, at what date. In the even you are in your mailbox, you at corner the size of the mail, and then what is the date of arrival, at what time you got that particular message to your inbox. Everything will be known to you, right? And then written part, whenever you want to send the reply to the same mail, we can give the reply by using a written part. So this is about message part. We format, we no need to talk about much. Why? Because in the daily life everyone may gone through the emails, right? And the next one is a message transfer. What is for message transfer? In order to transfer the message, there should be a connection between the sender and the receiver. So once the connection is there is a transport connection between the source machine and a destination machine, then we can transfer the messages. So in order to transfer the messages, we require a protocol. I already told you the communication is possible only because of the protocols. Why? Because communication is implemented by the protocol, right? In order to transfer the mails, so we require a protocol called as SMTP. SMTP means Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. Once there is a connection between the source machine and destination machine, once there is a TCP connection established, then we can transfer the message. We can receive the messages. We can send the message to the mailbox and we can receive the message from other person, right? So we can send as well as the receive mails using the SMTP. Okay. If the message is not delivered, definitely you will get the notification that they will, failure notice. Okay, whatever the message you send by you is not delivered, delivery failure, that message will be received by the sender. So based upon the information, if the message is the mail sent to the sent by you is received by the receiver, immediately you got the message like message has been sent. If there is any failure, immediately you got the notification like so message delivery failure to the particular address you sent a mail, but it was not delivered due to the poor connection or there is no network connection. So because of that reason, or else you might give a wrong email address. Destination machine might not address might not found. So because of these many reasons, you may fail to send the data to the receiver. At that time, you will get the failure message. So this is about SMTP, and this is your end of the session. Okay. So better um, whenever you want to start preparing computer networks, better you need to prepare TCP, UDP, application layer, DNS, email. So because these are very having very few important questions. So if you're comfortable with this, automatically there is a diagram. TCP, in the TCP you have a three-way handshake, and next transport layer. What are the elements? Addressing, connection over and service, establish connection, releasing the connection, flow control, multiplexing, crash recovery. That's it. After that, TCP header format and then UDP header format. Okay, that's it, right? And then a three-way handshake if possible. And then in the fourth unit, we have a DNS and the email, short information about SMTP, right? So these are enough. So in the DNS, they might ask you about DNS resource records. In the DNS, each and everything is very important. Domain namespace is important, and the resource records. If they ask you about the resource record, you need to talk about those five important points in the resource record. So what is the domain name, type, value, time to leave, right? So all these those things you need to write. What is the resource record? Okay. If you talk about mapping, what is the purpose of DNS? How the mapping will done? So you need to write about recursive mapping or iterative, both the things with an example, right? And next coming to email, this particular word is very important. User agent and message transfer agent. With the help of those two subsystems only, electronic mail works, right? So if you're comfortable with the fourth unit, directly transport layer and application layer, then directly you need to move to the first unit. So in the first unit, you have a LAN, MAN, WAN, and then topologies, bus topology, ring topology, star topology, mesh topology, and then it has OSLA layer and the TCP IP. So definitely you will get one question from that, and next from the transport layer you will get one question, and the application layer you will get one question, right? And directly you need to go to the data link layer in the date after next part. In the data link layer, you need to prepare for framing and error corrections. Framing techniques and error correction techniques. Under the error correction, there are two important things. One is the CRC, and the second one is a Hamming code. CRC is for error detection, and Hamming code is for error detection. Just a problem. You no need to prepare lots of theory and all, right? So after that, elementary data link protocols also very easy. Simplex, stop and wait ARQ. Just a matter of diagram, right? And next, these are sliding window protocols. Only go back and selectively repeat. If you are comfortable with these questions, at least, so automatically we will able to write all the four questions as of my knowledge. Okay, thank you. I gone through your previous question papers too. So if you are comfortable with these topics, then automatically, I told you only 10 questions, right? So if you're comfortable with those 10 questions, automatically you are able to write the at least three questions. And sometimes you might not wonder, you might have the capability to write all the four questions. Right? Thank you. Next, moreover, do you have any doubts? Let me know. Sorry. Right. Yes. In the last class also only few participants are attended to the session. This time also few participants are attended to the session. So my humble request to you is at least you are attending the further sessions, right? Revision sessions. That means you are putting some of your efforts to listen to the class. At least some of your mobile data consumed for this one, right? So for that purpose, you need to pass. You need to get the good marks in the computer networks. I hope so. Do you have any doubts? So do you have any doubts? Can I wind up the session at least? Okay. Already it is 1:20. So do you have any doubts? You can inform me via chat or else you can unmute your devices and you can ask me a question. Okay, I will wind up the session. Thank you. No doubts. Okay, thank you.